Jazz Brissack is a 24-year-old Starbucks barista.
So I'm one of the openers at my store, so getting up at 4:30 is pretty standard. Make sure everything's ready for the day, feed the cats, make sure they have water.
She works at an unassuming Starbucks store in Buffalo, New York.
I love working at Starbucks. Some of the most amazing people I've ever met work at the store with me.
This young service worker and this coffee shop could make history this week. Jazz has become an unlikely leader of an effort to create the first unionized corporate Starbucks stores in the country. Employees at 3 Starbucks stores in the Buffalo area are now voting on whether or not to form a union. This old Model T factory is now home to the Starbucks unionization effort here in Buffalo, and inside the clock is ticking for these organizers. Jazz and her fellow barista, 37-year-old Michelle Eisen, are here on their off hours to help quarterback the final moments of the campaign. Well, Starbucks historically has been viewed as a really great place to work, a lot of benefits. Why does Starbucks need a union?
When I started with them in 2010, that's what I came into. I really do feel like they were that company. And in the last 4 or 5 years, those little kind of perks have slowly kind of been pulled away. Like we've seen the benefits packages, we've seen those costs go up and the benefits go down. And I've got partners who can't pay their rent and put groceries in their fridge at the same time.
Why now?
You're seeing people who were forced to work through some pretty intense, awful conditions and realizing that these corporations made billions of dollars off the backs of our labor in the middle of a global pandemic, and we've reaped little to no benefits from that.
After they started organizing, Jazz and Michelle say Starbucks flooded Buffalo area stores with managers from other parts of the country. A company spokesperson told NBC News the personnel are there independent of the union vote to help fill staffing gaps, improve how stores function, and help with training at request of employees.
We had support managers from all over the country. That's what Starbucks calls them, support managers. The quotes are necessary because they're not really here to support us. In fact, they're here solely to come into our store, make sure that there's not any time, that there's not management watching. We used to talk about the union at work. We were signing up people, talking about organizing as we were making drinks.
When did you start noticing these new people coming in, these support managers?
Within a week of us filing, I believe. Rosanne Williams, who is the president of Starbucks North America, she oversees, to the best of my knowledge, corporate Starbucks in North America, came into town, started holding active listening sessions. That's what they call them.
Had she been to town before?
I've never seen anyone higher than a regional director in Buffalo, let alone anyone to the level that she's at. She pops into stores whenever she feels like it, grabs a bucket of ice, takes out a trash bag.
A Starbucks spokesperson said, "We categorically deny any claims of surveillance, union busting, or anything of the sort," adding that it is normal for executives like Rosanne Williams to visit stores when they hear Starbucks partners, the company's term for employees, are unhappy. Back in the union war room, the effort that started among a few baristas has taken on a national significance. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez met with organizers to offer her support, and Senator Bernie Sanders hosted a live stream to showcase the movement.
Many of Starbucks employees are younger people who come from a generation that has really struggled economically and through no fault of their own now has a lower standard of living than their parents.
With ballots being counted Thursday, Michelle and Jazz are making big plans.
We win on Thursday. We have the first unionized Starbucks in the United States of America, and then we get Starbucks to the bargaining table and negotiate the best contract that the service industry has ever seen. I mean, that's the goal.
And Dasha joins me live now. We're so excited. We haven't seen each other in person on set in a while.
Face to face. This is amazing.
It's great to have you here. All right, so no corporate-run U.S. Starbucks has unionized so far. The question, why Buffalo?
I know, it seems like an unlikely place for this to happen, right? But there is a little bit of precedent there. There's a Buffalo coffee chain, Spot Coffee, that unionized there a couple of years ago. So that sort of planted the seed. And then once the pandemic happened, suddenly a lot of this labor that before was sort of viewed as disposable suddenly became essential. And they were working these long hours and in more dangerous conditions. And the workers said, hey, we want a seat at the table. And we feel like some of the corporate folks have gotten sort of out of touch. You know, they're having these record quarters, record years of profits, and we are seeing our benefits and our wages, you know, stagnating or even going down. And so they're asking for, you know, a seat at the table and a voice with the company.
Obviously, there's another side to this. NBC News spoke with anti-union Starbucks employees. What are they saying? Why don't they want to unionize?
Yeah, we talked to some of those folks. They actually didn't want to speak on camera because they were worried that they might be ostracized by some of their pro-union coworkers. They were worried about online harassment potentially. But they said, look, Starbucks is already one of the more high-paying service jobs out there. They have a pretty good relationship with their baristas, with their employees, and they get a lot of benefits like health care for even part-time workers. They talked about some of the perks like free Spotify accounts and discounts at Apple stores. So some folks are happy with the way things are. But like I said, the people that want to unionize, they really want to be able to have that say and to have some contribution to the conversation.
Oh, I've heard about the perks at Starbucks, but I didn't know about those free Spotify accounts.
Spotify accounts, I know.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right, so they're going to count the votes tomorrow. Let's talk about what kind of ripple effect this could have, not just at Starbucks, but through the industry, whatever happens.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I mean, they're sort of hoping that this is something that others look at other Starbucks stores and say, hey, maybe we could do this as well for the places that are interested in a union. It's also fascinating because the service industry doesn't have a whole lot of precedent with this. When you think unions, you typically think factories, right? You think teachers, you think nurses, you don't think service workers. And one of the sort of expert union organizers that's lending a hand to this this movement, a man named Richard, who's been doing this for 40 plus years, he said what these young service workers, these Gen Z and millennial folks are doing is kind of akin to what their grandparents did in the 30s and 40s with manufacturing. You know, there haven't been a lot of unions in service, and there maybe potentially, we'll see what happens, but kickstarting a new movement here.
It's very cool. We'll see what happens with the vote. Dasha, thanks so much. Great to see you.
Live and in the flesh.
I know, it's crazy.
Thanks, Allison.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.